Hi, I'm Tom Robinson with the Institute for International Business and Center for International Business Education and Research at CU Denver. At the IIB Cyber, we promote the advanced study and teaching of international business, international studies, and related fields. As a university-wide center, the IIB develops and provides international business resources and opportunities for faculty, students, and businesses. We support faculty in enhancing the global dimensions of their teaching and research. Through the IIB and the Center for International Business Education and Research, we are happy to introduce this Career Spotlight series. This series is intended to be a resource for students to learn more about the opportunities and various careers in international business. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Julie Tracy Lockwood. Julie is a graduate of the Masters in International Business program at CU Denver, and she is actually a professor at CU Denver teaching an emerging technologies class in international business. And she has over 20 years of experience providing top industry solutions for clients in supply chain, deep supply chain experience, and she's a futurist with a focus on blockchain and other emerging technologies. So, Julie, thank you so much for meeting with me today. We're excited to learn more about your experience.
Yes, of course, Thomas. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Well, I wanted to just get started asking a little bit about your academic and career background. How did you get started in your career? And yeah, what were those first steps out of college? And what you in studying in college and everything like that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm an graduate of the Ohio State University, and I graduated in logistics and supply chain with a minor in Spanish. So I was one of those people that went straight on to do what my career focus was, and I spent some time working for Abbott Labs in their Ross Products division in Columbus, Ohio. And I had a really neat job in logistics where I got to be that intersection between marketing and sales in logistics. So, looking at things like order quantities and how the sales team did promotions that would minimize logistics costs. So, that was a great first training. And then I went on to go to CU in Denver and major in international business, which was a great complement to my career then at IBM.
Was that the master's that you did at CU Denver, or was that an undergraduate?
No, that was a master's. I did the master's at CU Denver.
Okay. And so you were initially working in logistics. Why did you decide to go back and get your master's, and how did that add to your career?
Yeah, so because I minored in Spanish, I always had a love for the international component. And so as I started my career with IBM, I knew that I wanted to go back and get my MBA or my master's. And I looked at places to go to do that. And I was living in Boulder, working for IBM. And CU Denver was a great alternative for me because I could fit in working and going to school at the same time. And you probably know IBM is a large global enterprise. So I had some really great on the ground knowledge of how international business worked. And CU Denver really complemented that knowledge with with their course criteria and just that education work together to help me understand international tax, finance, trade, supply chain, all of those complements to my career that was progressing at IBM.
Wow. And before you went back, had you worked in international business roles, or were you mostly in domestic?
Nope, I was a new hire at IBM at the time back in 2000, and I had got hired to work in the import team because of my knowledge of Spanish. So I was running the import operations for Mexico to US. So if you think back to the early 2000s, that was a really big supply line that was just being developed for personal computers and the same day shipping. So now we take it for granted with Amazon and that you can order something and it can show up at your door within 24 hours. Back in the early 2000s, that was a new thing. And IBM was developing a supply route for personal computers from Guadalajara, Mexico
Uh-huh.
to US. And they wanted to be able to ship computers same day to meet the US demand for personal computer usage at that time. So I ran that supply line back in the early 2000s. And as I was doing that, I knew I wanted to get my master's, and CU Denver was the perfect fit. I didn't have to quit my job. I was able to complement what I was doing at IBM with travel and work with CU Denver's course load. So it worked out really well.
Wow. And with that, you already had that initial experience. How did you feel like the MSIB, what did that bring to your career moving forward out of, you stayed at IBM, right, throughout your,
Yeah, I ended up staying at IBM. I always tell people I looked at leaving IBM many times, but they were too good to me. They
yeah.
me. I went through my master's at CU as I moved on and traveled and did different roles. And then as I had multiple children, they took care of me, and I've just always been challenged at IBM. So I think that how that intersected with my master's at CU was I really got a formal construct for how IBM handled operating as a global enterprise. So, today we think of it as global commerce, but back then it was more about a integrated organization and how to land on the ground internationally and sell, handle tax, handle finance, handle procurement, all of that internationally. And I felt like my degree at CU Denver gave me that formal construct to take back to IBM and apply to my ongoing work knowledge.
Wow. Okay. And did you change your role? Were you still working on that Guadalajara, the Mexico project, or did you
So
shift?
it's evolved since then. So I went on to become a first line manager. I ran a IBM procurement operation where we procured about $1 billion worth of direct procurement, which is procurement required for manufacturing. And then after that, I moved on to manage IT platforms in supply chain.
Mhm.
And now I'm in the consulting arm of IBM, which is known as Global Business Services. It's about a third of IBM, and I manage a global team with a P&L, and we do cloud platforms, supply chain, global trade financing, blockchain, and IoT type applications. So our breadth is pretty wide, but we do custom solutions for our clients.
Wow, it sounds very technical, this new like where you're at now.
Yeah, like any career, it kind of morphs and unfolds as you go. There hasn't really been a direct path. I just keep building on the
Hmm.
experience that I've gotten. And, I think having my master's was kind of a piece to that puzzle, but you really need to mix multiple skill sets. So the international component is one, but also I've been able to overlay that with technology as a cross sector for my experience and been able to build on that as I've gone.
Interesting. Yeah, and I know some of those technologies are a big part of the future too. You with it sounds with the global business services division, you're advising companies on how they can be strategically positioned with these technologies for the future.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think one of the lessons I've learned in my career is to always be learning. We're in this unprecedented time where technology is morphing so quickly from cloud to, I mentioned blockchain and IoT and things like containers. The industry is just changing so rapidly. I've seen the biggest skill that is required on my team are people that are able to digest and learn quickly to be
Mhm.
able to evolve as our clients need them to. So to be able to pick up something they've never read or learned about before and digest it mostly online over the internet using things like online learning and chat groups and resources and things like that. If they're able to digest that and take action upon it and create cutting edge solutions, that's the kind of people that we need at IBM to build things for our clients.
Yeah, so it's like are there, how do you, when you're hiring, if you're hiring new people for your team, what kind of skills are you looking for, or skills or knowledge or like experiences or yeah, things like that.
Yeah, and I would say in the upper echelon, our client relationship managers, our project managers, we're looking for leadership. We're looking for the ability to set direction. We're looking for project management experience, for ability to lead diverse teams, because almost all of our teams are global.
Mm.
And as we've seen the shift to at-home working, with COVID, we need the flexibility for people to work across cultural boundaries, across time zone boundaries, and be able to lead a team in that diverse environment. When I'm hiring more technical resources, it's a little bit different. We may be looking to check some boxes on the technical capabilities, whether it's a Java developer or history with some sort of type of containers and development. That may be a specific skill set, but as I mentioned, we also need employees who are able to take in and digest large amounts of information and decide how we can craft solutions for our clients based on those capabilities.
Mhm. And those are, it seems like more leadership roles in IBM.
Yeah.
As far as people, if it's an undergraduate student who's just graduating, um, what would you recommend they focus on towards the beginning of their career to position themselves for those higher level positions later on?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think taking a risk early on in your career and and targeting exactly what you would like to do is always a suggestion of mine. I mean, if you want to work for a startup, go work for a startup. If you want to travel internationally or work internationally, do that at the beginning of your career so that you can build upon it as you go. And IBM has a really unique program called Consulting by Degree. And that program allows entry level employees to experience multiple projects in multiple sectors of the business. So they may work in distribution with a retail focus, or they may work in industrial with a commerce focus. And that program allows them to sample many different things under a higher level leader so that they can experience multiple areas of the business and start to set a direction of where they want to go. So if a new graduate can find a program like that encourages them to learn and to really sample what they'd like to do, I think that helps you develop as an individual, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I would agree. I haven't done some, I've done a variety of jobs, but I have some friends, and my brother is in a rotational program, and he's with supply chain. So it's like really interesting to, yeah, hear about kind of all the different things he's learning, and he'll be on one team for like 4 months and then jump to another team. And it seems like a great way to learn more about what you really want to do.
Yeah, and it's a great way for companies to reduce the silos that have traditionally existed in the line of business model where, there's procurement over here and shipping over here. And many times they're working in in competing factors within the business, right? So
Yeah.
if people that can cross those sectors, then we all learn, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Um, And I had a question just around mentorship in your career. Has that played a role in, have you had any mentors in your life that have helped you along your path?
Yeah, I have had official mentors and non-official mentors, yeah, throughout my career. I remember early on at IBM, probably one of my first jobs back to importing, I had a director who, maybe wasn't really a friend, or I didn't have a direct line, so to speak, to call or talk to him. But you know what I learned? I learned by watching him, and I learned by watching what the people around him did. He was really good at showcasing talent, walking the halls, and letting his people know that he always had their back. And I feel like I've took a lot of that from him. And he probably doesn't even know that, but just I feel like I remember back to that position where I was first starting with the company and looking for leadership. I've also had a past boss that, oh, she was an amazing person, and she actually recently retired, and I took over her director job at IBM, but she makes the time to check in with people. Even now that she's retired, she calls and writes me, and it's just when you know that somebody is looking out for you, it makes it easier to take some risk. It makes it easier to bounce things off of them, to review what your life goals and your life balance is with them so that they can help you make good decisions. So I always encourage people to find a mentor, not in a forced way, but in somebody that you connect with. And I also try to be a mentor to people that I connect with, whether it's at CU or IBM or even other companies or people that reach out to me on LinkedIn, because I think it's a very, very important part to make decisions about your career and to being happy in what you do, right?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I'm a graduating MBA student, and like, it's been incredible just how open people are if you really ask for
Yeah,
something specific, or you express curiosity. It's like people are just so open to share more about what they do, which is
right.
really fun. Yeah. Okay. So, oh yeah, I wanted to ask because I know, you're working at IBM, but you're also a professor and help with programs at CU Denver. So, yeah, I don't know if you could share a little bit about what you do at the university and um, how that kind of ties in with your career.
Yeah, so CU Denver, the international program, actually has a cyber designation. So they have a grant to infuse technology into their courses. And so about 2 years ago, I started working with CU to bring a technology focus into the MBA program. And it started out just coming to each of the programs, whether it was 11-month cohort or traditional MBA, and talking to them about how technology is infused into international business. And it evolved to teaching a course called Emerging Technology in International Business this past spring. And the course explores the international landscape of technologies like blockchain, artificial intelligence, cloud analytics, and how they can be viewed through the lens of international business.
Hmm.
So we did case studies. We also did a badging program. So, the little badges that you get on LinkedIn that show
Yeah.
your skill sets. So we did a blockchain based badging program to show how that technology could be applied to international business. And we did a lab, and the lab included a global purchasing pattern where we built a blockchain based on that, um, I'll say purchasing program for international business. So it was really, really fun first take on a course, and we hope to do it again, and just to make sure that the international business students are thinking about technology as not only a career path, but also knowing that everybody these days is some way involved in technology, whether it's from our smartphone or our computers or purchasing something for a company or our line of business or our future job that we're going to go to.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, do you think there are any technologies that are especially important? Because you have worked a lot in supply chain and logistics, um, or just in international business generally. But are there any specific technologies that you think are going to be very prevalent in the future?
Yeah, so I am. It's kind of a loaded question because I'm a blockchain enthusiast.
Yeah.
So I I have personally loved learning about blockchain, but I've also been learning about it purposely for IBM as well to support some of our clients. And I think blockchain holds the biggest promise for international business from banking to supply chain. I think blockchain will become a disruptor. It's been a little bit in fits and starts. It had a lot of hype back about 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and it's kind of been coming and going in a wave, and we've moved out of this state of concepts more into real live blockchain implementations, which has been really fun. So IBM actually has, if the listeners want to look up a blockchain example, there's one in supply chain that IBM has done with Maersk, and it's called Trade Lens. So that you can look it up on www.tradelens.com. And it's an investment that IBM and Maersk have made together to digitize the ocean shipping process from port of origin to delivery. And it's a really neat way to envision how blockchain can help increase efficiencies and reduce cost in a supply chain. And they've had some really big clients, including some government entities, adopt the Trade Lens solution. And you can find a full list of the clients there on that website.
Okay, yeah, we'll try. I'll include the link in the when we post this video. I'll include it. And then also I was gonna mention, I don't know if it's okay if I mention the other interview you had,
Yeah.
the story. Yeah, so there's a storytellers, I think it was the Colorado Business Roundtable, and I interviewed Julie about her experience with blockchain, and I got to watch it the other day. It's really interesting. It's more specific about blockchain technology, and you tell stories about how it's been used with different business and supply chain examples. So if you're a listener and you're interested in learning more about that, that's another. You should watch that video. It's really good.
Yeah, put a link to that. There's a really good example on Walmart with IBM's Food Trust, and I think the listeners would really, really like that one. It's really it's a good way to think through what a more technological supply chain would look like as a consumer too of Walmart products and protecting our safety and our health through the food supply chain.
Mhm. Yeah, so I know we're running low on time, so I just wanted to see if there's anything else you wanted to add, um, as far as like skills or any recommendations you have for students who are looking to get involved in international business.
Yeah, so again, I mentioned international business can be a very broad degree. So I think getting an intersection with another skill and really touching base with yourself to see what intersection that would be, whether it's technology like I've done, or selling, or a language, or startups, or something that intersects that broad skill of international business. And I think networking is such an important activity. Reaching out to those people around you and being very clear on what you need and what you want to see if they can help you. I know I have, especially teaching at CU, I have a lot of people reach out to me, and it makes such a difference when people come to you as a networker with direction on what they want and how you could best help them. So, for example, if you're looking for a job in a company and you want to reach out to somebody that's already working for that company if you do your homework and understand some of the open positions and things like that, then you can direct them on what type of job you want and how you envision them helping you get that job. So that would be my advice for students out there looking for their next steps in in this world is reach out and talk to people. Like you said, so many people want to help. It's just a matter of giving the direction in our very time crunched world to allow that person to help you the best way possible.
Thanks. That's great advice. Definitely been trying to incorporate that myself. So it's always I get the privilege of doing these speaker series and I learn so much. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yes, of course. Anything to support CU, great school, and we have so many challenges ahead of us with this whole COVID situation, and I think CU has done such a good job of moving to online, and with the international scope that we have, it's just really neat to get a world view in these challenging times where we can't travel or have a hard time kind of getting away from our home, right?
Yeah, for sure. I know it's been, and those tech skills you mentioned are probably going to become even more important, or at least awareness of them.
Yes.
So awesome. Well, thanks so much. We really appreciate your time.
Okay, thanks, Thomas.